Hiya! So I'm just chuckling to myself because I completely forgot what this video was about. So the next video I'm going to talk about is try again. We are confident to challenge our thinking to support personal growth. The majority of people come in to see me with quite the fixed thinking, quite rigid thinking styles about what's right, what's wrong, what should work, what shouldn't. And what we can find is that those people who, like you and me, who want to grow, who want to become more, need to have that flexibility of thinking to be able to challenge what it is that's going through ourselves and say, okay, what's going on for me here? Okay, when you see, no one can make us feel anything without our permission. No one can make you mad. You can respond in a way where you recognise that their values conflict with yours, but understanding about how we respond to things and challenging ourselves in order to grow. Now, it's quite a hard one, this video, so I'm going to do my best to explain it to you as I can. But people with the most flexibility of thinking generally have the power to control the system with which they're within. Can't speak properly. And it's about saying we're confident to take a step back and say, okay, what's going on for me here? What needs to change so I can respond to this better? Because when people go, it's just wrong, it is what it is, or, you know, they shouldn't be that way. It's very rigid thinking. It's about understanding what you're doing, the processes that's stopping you being able to respond to it in a way that you want to. If I said to you, I don't know, unless you're a real shoe fetishist person, I don't really like your shoes. They're not my style. You'd probably be like, I don't care. I really like my shoes and it's fine for you not to like them. It's when people attack what we feel or perceive as attacking our values or telling us what is wrong. And if there's an element of truth, if there's a fear or a doubt that there's part of what they're saying is true, we'll respond in two ways. One, we'll either attack, if we're feeling under attack, that fight mentality, which is you're wrong, and what about you? You always do that too, or you've done that in the past, blah, 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 blah. Or we freeze and kind of don't know what to do with it, or we run away from it and say it's not true. Yeah, no, there's no truth in what they're saying. Blah, 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 blah. And actually what we can do is challenge the way we think to see if there's any element of truth in what we believe they're saying, which is creating that response. So as anyone's told you, I don't know, perfect example is when parents tell us about how we should parent. And that, in my day, we used to just give them a good hiding. You should just tell them what they should want, set clear boundaries. You should use sort of time out or send them to their room without dinner, because that's what they would have done. And we kind of create this kind of, there's this gut. Have you ever had that gut reaction? You're like, what you're saying's wrong. And you kind of want to fight what they're saying, going, well, actually, just about 10 thoughts went through my head then and came out in one sentence. So I'll try and slow it down. Actually, I think, this is going on in your head, not necessarily out loud, understanding what they're saying, understanding what's going on for you in response to what they're saying, and being okay to say, actually, they're wrong. That's the way they see it, and that's the way they would do it, and that's okay for me not to want to do it that way. But parenting is a really good example, because often we choose to parent in a different way to which we were parented. But the thing is, we've kind of created this template for how we should parent by our personal experiences. Now, you may parent you might have had the best parents and they just want to do exactly what they did for me because they were brilliant. There may be areas that you want to change. But nonetheless, if you say to yourself, I'm not sure if I'm just letting the kids get away with too much, am I setting those clear boundaries? There's that element of doubt that sometimes, you want an easy life, you need to do something, you need to do the housework, or you need to do some work, and you maybe let them watch TV for a little bit longer than you want. And then they want crisps, and then they want this, and then they want that. And you kind of give yourself a bit of a get out of jail card and say, okay, for this once. And then their behaviour kicks off or something, and you kind of kick yourself going, I knew that would happen. They watched too much TV, and now, whatever's gone on for you. And then you go to your parents, and why do they, I don't know, you might have brilliant kids, you might have really fantastically behaved kids who are perfect. And if you do, please let me know how you do it. Because often my kids, for some reason, always kick off where I don't want them to kick off, or if I'm late, that'll be when they decide to have a meltdown, or, you know, I'm already late. And it's kind of in response to me, because I'm probably a bit more stressy than I normally am. Like, come on, we've got to go. And they hate that. So they then kick off, and there's going to be a whole load of response stuff going on for them. But when my personal bugbear is when my parents or my mum tells me what I should do. And because what's going on for me is there's an element of doubt that I'm not doing it right. So what I need to do is kind of be confident to challenge my thinking, rather than, no, you're wrong, this is what I'm doing, I'm happy with what I'm doing, that kind of fight mentality. I challenge my thinking and say, is there any element of truth in what she's saying that would help me manage this situation better? It takes some time for that reaction to die down. Can you do it at the time? Probably not. But what I do know is I'm confident to challenge the way I think to see if it's working for me. And know that actually it's okay for me to challenge what I'm doing. It's okay to challenge my thoughts so that I can grow and get better from it. And it might be I challenge my thoughts and say, you know what, originally I thought this, but now I'm going to change it slightly, and now I'm going to think B or C. Or I might look at A and say, you know what, is this working for me? Is this the way that I want it to work? Is this getting me the solution I want? And I go, yeah, I'm quite happy with what I've come up with. And this is the plan I'm going to stick to. And so when we are confident to challenge who we are and what we're thinking, then we're actually empowered to respond in a more helpful way and develop those healthy coping mechanisms. This one's a really hard one. So if you're like, Bianca, I have no idea what you're going on about challenging, confidence, personal growth, you're confusing me. I'm going to go through and break it down really simple. When we are coming from a place of fear or doubt, we kind of have this very thin veneer of confidence often in front of it, but behind it is a layer of self-doubt and not insecurity. So that when we feel that people are saying things, they're chipping away at this thin veneer of self-confidence, or thin veneer, oh my God, why do I keep choosing words that I can't pronounce properly? This thin layer that can be easily chipped away. Now, when I'm talking about your shoes, there is no doubt you like your shoes, you know that your shoes are nice and that you don't really care. So there's no insecurity in behind. So you've got a really thick layer of confidence in your shoes. What I'm talking about is things where there could be elements of doubt and insecurity that when we feel challenged, we kind of attack. And it's about taking away that gut reaction, that ness. Do you understand what I mean by ness? You know, like you can feel it in your stomach that, oh, I don't like what they're saying. And you could get this from a boss, you could get it from a partner, you can get it from, I've used the example of parents and parenting. But knowing that what's creating this reaction is the insecurity and self-doubt. So what we do is almost take the veneer of self-confidence, look at what's really going on under the surface, under the surface of the iceberg, and say, okay, yeah, no, there's elements of me there that's creating insecurity, self-doubt, fear, that's having difficulty responding to this. So when we can actually go through and say, okay, look at this, whatever it is, straight in the face and say, what's going on for me? What is it I'm really thinking? What is it I believe? What are those beliefs that I have about what I'm doing? And then when you can look at that kind of scary monster or that below the water and look at it, what's really going on, we're then empowered to say, okay, I can work on that, and now I'm more confident to react in a healthy way. Because if we get those gut reactions, it's usually touching a fear that's already there within ourselves, which we're desperately trying hard not to look at. We're trying not to look at this fear that we don't want to admit we've got, that we're not good enough parents or we're not good enough employees. I can kind of relate to a client, it's a perfect example, called Sarah. She was a teacher. That kind of resonated with me because I struggled being a teacher, because I really, really wanted to be the best teacher I could. But I also know the expectations on a teacher, there's so much you have to do, and there's so much paperwork, that sometimes I remember thinking, I just want to be focusing on the lessons and doing this brilliant lesson plan and getting the kids engaged, and I'm having to do all these sort of value added. Okay, so when they maybe did a lesson observation and it wasn't as good as I wanted to be, I got really defensive because I felt trapped and I couldn't. My first reaction was I wanted to do a good lesson, but I spent all this time in meetings, but I didn't actually get to do what I wanted to do. And Sarah was exactly the same. And so anyway, so what she said was resonated, and I've got that gut reaction on her behalf because I remember those frustrations of wanting to do this, but doing this and not doing a good job. There was a gut reaction where she was frustrated and she felt like she had to attack and had to fight because there was almost this insecurity that she kind of knew her lessons weren't as good as she wanted them to be. That value she was putting in the lessons wasn't where she wanted to be, but also her expectations were really high. She had a lot of pressure on her. And when I was talking to her, we looked at those insecurities. And when she looked at that, she was then in a position to go, you know what, they have got a point. There were elements there that needed improving. There were, rather than coming from a place of fear that she wasn't doing good enough, she was then coming from a place of strength, which was, I'm doing really good, I'm doing my best, but actually they've got maybe a point. If I worked on this area and looked at how I could improve this, then the lesson would be even better. And she saw the bigger picture. So rather than coming from a place of fear, she came from a place of strength, looking at that positive outcome. What am I hoping to achieve? So it's about saying, we're confident. You know, we're going to come up here with problems. I know I will. I hope that you will come. You say, I'm stuck. I'm in this place. No matter what I do with my kids, we always end up being late. You know, no matter what I'd speak to my husband, you know, we always end up having an argument. We often say, oh, it's their fault. Every time they come home, they're in a bad mood and they take it out on me and it's their problem. And it's about challenging our thinking and saying, okay, well, if it was me and I could instigate change, what would I need to do? What could I do to make it better? So it's about stopping, knowing that when we're feeling attacked, that we're going to create that response, but knowing that we're confident enough and we like ourselves and we believe in ourselves enough to be able to say, okay, I have that flexibility of thought. I can change how I'm responding to this. There's going to be a way that I can challenge my thinking so I get a really positive outcome out of this, or at least try. So I hope that explains that. As I said, there's going to be more videos. There's going to be more trying to explain that. But I'd love your feedback if that makes sense, because often the way I see it and translating it to you, it's very different to a coaching session, because one-on-one, I can ask questions that help you challenge your thinking. In a video like this, when I'm just talking to an empty screen, I need some feedback. So tell me, Bianca, you've confused the hell out of me, do it again. Or say, actually, it makes a little bit of sense, or it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Give me some feedback, I need to know.